Welcome to the Guthrie America podcast. We sit down with amazing people who do life in our community and who are from our community because we believe every story should be told. I'm your host, Hetty Coleman. Today, I am sitting down with Shavon Jackson Young. Before we jump into this conversation with Shavon, would you please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review? It would mean the world to us. This episode is brought to you by Trilogy. Trilogy is an independent employee benefits consulting firm. They specialize in custom benefit solutions for employers and do not believe that one size fits all. Their passion is helping employers create benefit packages that attract and retain top talent in their field. Education is the key to employers and employees understanding and getting the most out of their employee benefits. Check out trilogy-alliance.com. Maggie and her team over at Trilogy are doing amazing work. Shavon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for being a part of it. I'm excited to hear your story and just kind of hear your experience. And Guthrie America, you're a little bit younger than me. What year did you graduate?
99.
99. Yeah, you're a few years younger than me. Why is the class of 99 the best class?
Well, okay, we partied like it was 1999.
That's not fair. That is not fair.
But I think our class was just really inclusive. Like we were a group that hung out with everybody, accepted everybody. We weren't just like just a 99 crew, like you could only be, in our class to hang. I really felt like we made friendships and, hung out with everybody, included everybody, and just a great group of people. And, a lot of us are still connected. Still have that close bond. And even though we may not see each other all of the time, we definitely stay connected, like in our group chats and things like that. So just a great group of people.
That's good. So whenever y'all see each other, it's like we're still like we never left each other. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's the cool thing. Do you think that happens because we grew up in a smaller town, or do you think that's all schools, or in your experience as an educator being around in different places, do you feel like it's the same kind of vibe?
Not so much. I've been in some larger districts and I've been in smaller districts, and I think the benefit of those smaller communities and smaller districts like Guthrie is that kids do get to grow up in that tight-knit community, and a lot of times you're with family. So I was so blessed to have lots of cousins. They were a little bit older than me, but Teresa Bufford and Terry Bennett and that crew, we all hung together and were very close. And so that was just a joy to get to hang out with your family. But even the people that really weren't your family, like I can't count the number of people that were play cousins, Shyla and Crystal Kelso. I mean, we weren't really family, but even my own kids call us all cousins just because that's how we grew up.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, and I don't think, and I don't know if I have this question later or not, but what I've learned too is for some people that I've talked to that have moved out of Guthrie, like homecoming is not a thing in different places, like the way that we do it in Guthrie.
Yeah, and that is definitely true. I've noticed that in different districts, and we'll have homecoming. Like we have a homecoming here in Russellville, but it is not on the level, of Guthrie's homecoming. And Guthrie sets the bar high for sure. So I go to homecomings in other districts, and I'm kind of looking like, this is homecoming. This isn't it. I need y'all to come to my hometown and see how we do it in Guthrie for homecoming. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Like my siblings grew up in Florida, and I don't even like when we're all together in Florida, I don't even hear them talk about like going to a homecoming or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, or even thinking about going back to a high school game. Like if you're in town, typically most people are like, I'm gonna go to a game if there's one going.
Yeah, like people plan trips home around homecoming. Like you like your schedule off for homecoming.
Yeah. So what do you? You just recently, a couple of years ago, had your 20th, right?
Oh yes, I did.
Was it your 20th?
Yes. How did that happen?
Hey,
how did that happen?
I'm having my 30th this year. You said what?
You said what?
I said I'm having my 30th this year. So.
Oh wow! Yeah, time flies by, doesn't it?
It does.
It flies by.
He's like, where did the time go?
Where did
Uh,
it go? Just
talking about just time flying, like when you were a youngster running the streets of Guthrie, America, what was it like for you?
um, I laugh with my kids because even talking back, to when we were younger, like upper elementary and things. Like I tell my kids all the time how we could just ride our bikes all day long, all over town. Like we would leave mid morning and we might not come back until, you know what I mean? Like it was almost dark. And it was just such a safe place for you to be able to do that. And I miss that. I miss being in a community where, it was safe enough just for you to let your kids go out and ride bikes all day, be at the park all day and do whatever. Cause I'm like, now I wouldn't dare let my kids just be out riding bikes all over the community. But it's just a little bit different. Times have changed and we can't do that. But my younger years, my younger memories, I just remember, like I said, hanging out with my cousins. If we weren't out on bikes, we were either at, our house, the Young's house always had a ton of people over, and so many memories of Shannon and me and Terry swimming all day long. We had a swimming pool in our backyard. So many memories of that. And then as I got into high school, we were so hooked up with sports and, activities that really took over a lot of our time, which was good. But that was kind of the life. You were in sports and activities and with close friends and family when you weren't doing that.
Yeah. Now, so when I was in high school, y'all had a swimming pool. Now, was this the same pool from when we were in school? Did y'all keep getting new? Because it was above ground, right?
Yeah, it's above ground. I think Gladys and Willie upgraded because we had probably from the time that you saw the pool, we had a new one since then. So we had like 2 or 3 different pools, I think, over the years.
Yeah. But I
We
know
were
it was a
really
real
hard.
deal. It was a real
Hell
deal
yeah.
to go to the Young's house
Oh
to
yeah.
swim.
Oh yeah. The backyard stayed lit.
Now, who, what? Now, I'm assuming both of them, your mom and dad, but did one take after the other as far as always having gatherings or something like that? Or did they just both have love gatherings?
I just think they both just have had that social spirit and just love to entertain. They, love to cook. Of course, my dad was always on the grill. Mom loves to stay in the kitchen, and I think that was just something that they both really enjoy
Yeah.
doing. Of course, my mom has carried that tradition on. She still loves to have people over and entertain, and there's even been a few times she's been down to Russellville, and I'm like, "Are we having a get together today?" I don't have get-togethers when you're not here, but when she comes to town, like I've got friends over, we're having
Yeah.
dinners, and so she brings the fun for sure.
So are you saying that you did not adopt that spirit of gathering big crowds? Is that what you're telling us?
I love to hang in the big crowds. I don't necessarily like to host the big crowds. I didn't get that.
Yeah, because
That was
it's
not
work.
passed on to me. That is work.
Man, it
I
is so
like
much
showing
work.
up, hanging out, and I can help bust some suds in the kitchen and clean it up, and then I'm out. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I don't really like to host the gatherings.
be done with it. Now,
Yeah.
going to school in Guthrie, you weren't there when they started neighborhood school, so you probably hit every school, right? You hit all the
Well, I
schools.
missed Fogarty because I was the first fourth grade class to go to GIS. So I
Oh,
never went to Fogarty, and I was super excited about the new school, but I was a little sad I missed Fogarty because that was like the school that had the upstairs and
yes.
downstairs. I wanted to go to Fogarty, but I missed that. So
Wow, you missed out on Fogarty.
yeah,
So, well, you really missed out a
yeah.
special treat. But you got the
Well,
new school, which is super
I
cool.
did get the new school. So I missed Favor. That was another one that like everybody talked
Oh,
about Favor, and I wanted to go to Favor, but since I was at Guess, that was fourth, fifth, and sixth, so I missed Favor as well.
okay. So you missed Fogarty and Favorite, but
Yeah.
within the schools that you went to, which one has the fondest memory to you?
Out of elementaries or just
All of them.
elementary
You
and
can do all of
intermediate?
them.
Let's see. I would say probably the high school. I mean, that's where, really into sports and uh, was a part of some awesome teams, earned scholarship, athletic scholarship, based on some things that I did athletically and academic scholarships. I also got to go to school 1 year with my cousins and my brother and my freshman year. So that was awesome. So I'd say probably my fondest memories were high school.
Okay. Now, which sports did you play?
I ran cross country and track. I
Okay.
played basketball and I cheered. And then I actually went on a cross country and track scholarship to Oklahoma State. And then 2 years in, I was kind of worn out with running because when you start doing that at the college level, that's a little bit different.
You
When I
cycle
was,
work.
yeah, like I was looking at my watch and my calendar, like I'm averaging 70, 80 miles a week running. Like I don't drive 70, 80 miles a week. So that's too much. But anyhow, like second year after my sophomore year, I decided I just was really ready for a break with running. And Shannon, my brother, talked me into trying out for the cheerleading squad. And I was like, all right, I've been a few years out of tumbling and all of that, but I'll give it a go again. So I worked out and started stunting and tumbling again my junior year and tried out the spring of my junior year and made it. So I cheered at Oklahoma State my senior year.
Oh, wow. You just athletic. You just all around athletic. Have they called you to be in the Hall of Fame yet down here in Guthrie, America?
No, not yet. And like I'm feeling some kind of way about that because now both of my brothers are in there, and we still have a running. We got a competition going on, and so I usually
Wow.
win these competitions, and they're both in there, and I'm not. So I don't know
Well,
who I
we
need
got
to
to
talk
fix that. We got to call Chris Evans or whoever, somebody that's participating in that. How in the world?
to.
Now, did you all stay in track, football, and cheer?
I actually did not. And crazy stories, like I missed winning the 800 meters my senior year by less than tenth of a second. So that was a heartbreaker. And then my senior year in cross country, I was 11. I think the top 10 all state, and I was 11 on that race.
Okay,
So always like right there, super close.
gotcha. Now, which one did you love the most? Cheering, basketball, or track?
I love basketball the most, for
Oh,
sure. Yeah,
really?
basketball. Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
position did you play?
Guard, sometimes point guard, and then sometimes like the 2 or 3 guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any favorite memories from your basketball days? Was there a game like everybody on the team would remember if you brought it up right now? This is putting you on the
Ah,
spot. I didn't prepare you for this.
that's put me on the spot. I don't know if I have. I couldn't even tell you which game it was. I want to say we were playing Chickasha, and it was like my favorite game. I had hit 16 points that game, and I just remember being like, I was so hyped. And the coaches would always stand like right there on the wall when you
Yeah.
get ready to run out to the locker room. You have coaches standing there. So I remember my dad was standing there, kind of leaned against those mats, and I thought, oh yeah, I scored 16, so I'm running by and I look at him and I'm like, 16 points, and he was like, yeah, and you missed that layup in the first quarter. Thank you for humbling me. Thank you. So that was the game I remembered the most, but he brought me right on down. Like those 16 points don't matter when you're missing layups.
Yeah.
So
Oh my goodness. Talking about your dad and mom, like what was it like growing up in a school district where they're kind of like legends? Like your dad and
um
mom are both,
yeah,
everybody knows them, everybody loves them. Your
yeah,
dad's a
it was,
coaching legend.
yeah,
What was that like?
yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And I'll be honest, there were times when I was young that I didn't always understand, um, how they open their doors all the time to everybody. Like sometimes there was a part of me that was kind of selfish. Like, why do we always have to share? Why does somebody always have to be over here? But I think that is the thing that like I try to emulate the most in my
Mm,
leadership today. That's something that I'm really passionate about is making sure that I'm inclusive and I'm giving kids what they need. And I didn't understand that when I was younger, but I definitely see the big picture now, and I see what they were doing then from an early age. Like when I remember when Kendall was in school, like, our doors were always open to everybody, whoever needed something, whoever needed food, they always had a place at our house. And then that carried on through when Shannon and I were coming through and in school. And but it was awesome. There was good and bad, mostly good. The bad times are when, you did something at school and they got that phone call before you even got home. Somebody was going to let them know they had our parents on speed dial. Not that they ever had to call, they didn't have to call often. But on those couple of occasions when you thought you were going to get away with something, it didn't happen. They knew. They knew early.
They knew everything.
Oh yeah.
I know you just said that you kind of emulate this approach to serving people, no matter who they were, especially as educators.
Mm-hmm.
You just, if you're a real educator, that's just going to happen, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. But in that, like watching them be educators, things like that, when did you know that you were going to be an educator?
So I think I knew very early that I wanted to be an educator, but I fought that because I was like, I don't make any money. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to make money, but it was just something that I was always drawn to. I've been around such good people, had such great teachers and coaches, and I just loved how they were able to impact people in a positive way. And so I think from a very early age, probably younger than junior high, but I knew for sure by the time I was in junior high that I for sure wanted to be a teacher and a coach. And yeah, that's what I did. So when I went to school, I didn't have to think about what my major was going to be for a couple of years. I began working towards my major as soon as I started. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good because a lot of students don't know exactly.
Yeah. I knew. Yeah.
So you graduated from OSU.
Mm-hmm.
Go Pokes. You still a diehard Pokes fan?
Oh, yeah. Bleed orange, yes. And it's hard for me because I've not converted to the Razorbacks. And so people around here have a hard time with that.
Oh.
They go to calling the Hogs. I mean, they're diehard down here. So they go to calling the Hogs, and I'm just kind of looking. They're like, it's been 9 years. You can call the Hogs. And I'm like, I don't think that I can. I really don't.
So you've been there 9 years? How often do you come home?
We come home all the time. I mean, the last 2 weekends, actually, I was home. It's just a quick drive, about 4 hours. So it's something that we can hop in the car on a Friday evening after school, or get up early Saturday morning and come down and spend the day or a couple days and come home. So it's not a bad drive, and we like it to just get away and see family, hang out with family, and it's good. We come home all the time.
Now, what is one thing that kind of stands out to you when you come home? Is there a place that wasn't here when you left that you frequent, or anything that you hear about? Like, well, we didn't have that.
Well, I am shocked that Guthrie has a Starbucks now. Like when Mom, I mean, that was big time. Mom called me like, we are getting a Starbucks in Guthrie. But I will tell you a place that my kids, we have to go every time we come. And if it's going to be closed when we come, my mom gets it in advance so that the kids have it. And that is Missy's Donuts.
Oh, wow.
We do not miss Missy's when we come to Guthrie.
What is their jam?
I mean, just the regular glazed donuts, nothing even special, but they think that there's something magic about those donuts. When my mom comes to Russellville, she makes a stop through Missy's and brings the kids donuts every time.
That is awesome. Yeah, a lot of people, they're not the only ones. There's a lot of people who love Missy's. They definitely have some people hooked. I'm one of those people. So it just so happens I live right here in Guthrie, so I don't have to travel or anything like that. Thinking about your kids loving Missy's, like, what was a store or something when you were younger that you really like connected to?
So it used to be a Conoco right by the temple. You remember that Conoco? And Miss Lolly worked there, and we would ride our bikes to that Conoco and to F&H. But I really remember Conoco. We'd ride our bikes there, and Miss Lolly would let us fill our bags, the little brown bags, up with 5-cent candy, and yeah, that was definitely our jam. we'd be searching couch cushions for change so we could go get Laffy Taffies and Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah. No, I remember that story. So I lived across the street from the temple for a little while when I got in high school.
Okay,
And so
okay,
I always tell everybody, like, well, my kids, we live by the temple now, actually. And so I always tell my
okay.
kids, like, the temple is where we hung out at. And so
Yeah,
people would get
yeah,
their car washed, drive off at the temple, and the next thing you know, it's hundreds of people hanging out at the temple. You didn't have to
yeah.
go anywhere. Langston people coming, people from the city would all come and hang out at the temple.
Yeah,
And
I
so
remember that. So that was like when Kendall was in school. I remember
yeah,
everybody hung out at the temple. We weren't really at the temple anymore when I was in school, but I do remember it was packed at the temple.
yeah, Terry was on the podcast, and he and I were talking about the temple. And I guess maybe right when he was a senior or something like that is when it
Hmm.
started kind of phasing out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I'm telling my kids now, like, invite 10 of your friends, just go hang out across the street and just
yeah. Bring it back.
recreate that for me, bring it back.
Yes.
But the funny
Yeah.
thing is, it was like young people and old people, like everybody
Yeah.
was just
Oh
hanging
yeah.
out. And we don't do that today. So you had
Yeah.
Conoco. You remember F and H?
Oh yeah. We'd go get all the lunch meat and the cold cuts at F&H and that little back section
Yes.
in the back. Yes, I remember F&H.
I wish F and H was still here.
Yes,
Then I
that
could
was
just walk
awesome.
around the corner.
Yeah, that's like an event center or something now, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's called the Drexel Center. And so
Okay.
a
Okay.
lot of people help throw parties there. There's a school that meets there during the week or something like that. And so, so homecoming parties will be at the Drexel Center.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so that's cool. Okay, so let's kind of go back to the schools. So you mentioned the high school being your jam. Who was some teachers that made a difference in your life that you still remember today?
I have a list of people who, really impacted me and who I remember. Of course, my parents, we talked about them. I had my junior high English teacher. She's really the teacher that inspired me to be an English teacher, and that was Miss Grace Shipley. Um, she is amazing, and I still stay connected to her on Facebook, but she was just an amazing teacher and really knew how to engage us and make learning fun. Of course, I had in junior high Coach Bennett, Coach Ritter. They were awesome. And I had Chapel Applehead for health. I don't know how much I learned in health, but I can tell you we always had fun with Coach Chapel. um, so we called at Edmond Santa Fe, we called her C Dub affectionately, but Carla Wilson was my math teacher and I loved her. Mr. Crooks, oh gosh, Mr. Crooks was like my favorite math teacher because I struggled in math and he was like he was my sophomore teacher. I guess that was algebra 1, and the way he taught it, it just finally connected. I connected to it and started to understand it and loved him. And then my senior year, I had Mr. Stewart, and he taught this class called Problems of Democracy. I think he actually like wrote a proposal to teach this elective class or something, but it's a really cool concept, and we learned a lot about just government and democracy. But he took a different angle than just like our traditional government class. And I remember on a field trip, I think it was McAllister. We traveled to McAllister and went on a field trip to like a prison there, and um, I remember having those conversations like with those inmates and them just telling us their story and kind of how they got there. Um, and then of course Miss Allen, we loving Miss Allen. I actually didn't have Miss Allen as a teacher, but she was our Heritage Club sponsor. So I spent 4 years getting to work with Miss Allen a lot, and she was amazing. And Coach Legowski and Coach Tarter, of course, I spent hours upon hours with them in cross country and track, and just awesome. And I have so many fond memories of them. And I was able to come back years later and work with Coach Blagowski as a colleague because he was the athletic director at Edmond Santa Fe, where I taught English. So, but yeah, those are. I mean, of course, the list could go on, but those were just some people that I really remember having an impact on me.
Wow, yeah. So Coach Blagowski, did you coach any, or he was just a colleague?
No, I did. I didn't coach at Santa Fe, but I did coach cheerleading and track. in Guthrie.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I did that. And then I coached at Santa Fe. I coached cheerleading.
Now, while we're still talking about education, all these teachers and people have made a great impact on you in the classroom. I guess some of those people, yeah, everyone that you mentioned was in the classroom, even
Mm-hmm.
including the coaches, right?
Right,
But
right,
and then you graduate, you become a teacher. At some point, you become an administrator.
right.
Like what happened? Like what
Yeah,
brought that
yeah.
on?
Yeah, so I think I knew early on, even when I was teaching, I knew I wanted to eventually move into leadership. I got my master's degree in 2009, but I still taught for a little while after I had my admin license because I just wasn't ready to leave the classroom. But it was a good time for me to go back to school at that time. You know, I wasn't married, didn't have kids, and so the timing was right. And I just thought, when I'm ready, when I get that itch to move into leadership, I'll know. And when we moved over to Arkansas, some opportunities presented themselves, and I was in a new spot. So I was like, okay, I might try it, and made that move over, and I have loved every minute of it. I think being a cheerleading coach at Edmond Santa Fe really gave me the most experience I needed to move into leadership because you have to deal with just a lot of things, a lot of parents. Um, I was really dealing with a different demographic of affluent parents and just having to be on my A game with communication and my schedules and working closely with the administrators at Santa Fe. I had some great mentors at Edmond Santa Fe, and I liked what they were doing and how they were supporting the scholars at school and how they supported teachers and staff, and um, we just had a great relationship. So we would work closely together. So I was able to really kind of do some leadership things before I was actually in an official leadership role. And so when the time came, I felt like I was ready to make a difference. And that's what I'm doing now, making a
That's cool. And how
difference
long you
every
been an
day.
administrator now in leadership?
So let's see. I started in 2014. 2014 was my first year as an assistant principal. And I was an assistant principal for like 3 years and 2 months. And then I came over to an elementary school in September of 2017. So this is my sixth year as a head principal.
Yep. Um, so I saw online or something. Did you win some big award or what
Yes,
was that
I
award? Tell
did.
us about that.
Yeah, you might see my bell in the background there on my cabinet. So
Yes.
that is, I won the Terrel H Bell Award. And so our school earned a National Blue Ribbon, which is a pretty big deal. And we got that in 2020. And so there was like maybe 300 schools nationally that were recognized as a Blue Ribbon school. And then out of that cohort of Blue Ribbon schools, they named 10 principals from that Blue Ribbon cohort. They named 10 principals like this Terrel H Bell Award winner, and I was blessed to earn that award. So pretty big deal out of 10 in the nation. So it's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what were the things that you think, like an overview of the things based on your leadership that allowed for you and your team to get to this place to where you got this award?
Well, we made some very quick changes in our building in terms of academic growth. We won the National Blue Ribbon for, earned the National Blue Ribbon was under the category of Achievement Gap Closing School. So we are a high poverty school. We're like typically 91% free and reduced lunch. And in 2017, when I came over that September, we had a very toxic culture. Our letter grade from the state, and I think schools there get letter grades.
Yeah.
So we had a D at the time, and I definitely saw that as a challenge and wanted to come help boost the morale and really build up our academic stamina, if you will. And so we improved each year. So 2017, we had the D. That following year, we had a C. The following year, we had a B. So we had gone up 2 letter grades very quickly. And then in 2020, we earned a National Blue Ribbon. So, the growth was just there. It was The data showed it. It wasn't just like, you know what I mean? Like we were just wordplay and saying we were making a difference. We truly were from the inside out. And we were building relationships, first of all, with our students, trying to get rid of whatever toxic culture was in the building, whether it was coming from the adults, whether it was coming from kids. We removed that. We started working on building relationships with the kids, building relationships with our families, creating community partnerships. That was a huge part of our growth, is getting, partnering with the community and bringing them into the school. And as we worked on those relationships, of course, that academic data took care of itself. You know what I mean? Like they say, kids aren't going to learn from people they don't like. So we had to make sure that we were making learning engaging, and we were making it fun. And so the teachers were working on that in the classroom, and I was working on the adult side of things. So I needed them to make learning fun for kids, but before they could do that, I had to bring the fun back to teaching for them. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're coming in miserable every day, how can I expect them to inspire kids? So I worked really, really hard that first year to just build culture and build community and make sure that we had collaborative practices in place. And I mean, it just happened very quickly. And thank goodness I had a team of people that were ready for change. And so as I implemented, they just kind of jumped on board and they followed along and kind of followed my lead. And we did the thing and we made it happen. And it's just a great place. Like you literally feel it when you walk in our building. You can feel the culture, and you can feel that, we work hard, but we play hard too. We want to have fun, but I don't think learning has to be stiff. It doesn't have to be a sit and get. It doesn't have to be boring. Like we need to make it fun so that kids want to be here. And so that's what we work on every day, is just building that community.
That's so good. That's so good. Now, we're going to have you on the We Love Educators podcast so we can go a little bit more in depth in what that looks like. But I have to ask, what is one of the keys to building relationships with adults? You talked about you had to work on the adult side of that thing in order for them to go into the classroom and feel good about themselves. What is if somebody's listening, what's a practical thing you would say, start here as far as building a relationship with adults?
Yeah, as simple as this seems, I think people want to know the why, right? So sometimes when we think about school transformation, or it may not even be a school, just any type of transformation, sometimes leaders, managers just want to come in, gung-ho, start making changes, but you leave people behind because they don't know the why behind what you're doing or where you're going. And so I think it was really making sure that everybody saw where we were, what's our current reality, right? And then how do we get out of this place? Because nobody wanted to have a toxic culture. You know what I mean? No one wanted to come to school and be miserable, but that was our current reality. So we had to address that head on first, and then look at where do we want to be? Let's set some goals. Where do we want to be a few months from now, a year from now? And if that's where we want to be, what are we willing to commit to? Because it's easy to just say, well, we want to have this great school, or we want to do this and we want to do that. Okay, but that takes everybody doing something. Yeah. Everybody's got to pull their own weight to make that happen, because, as the principal, I can't do that by myself. Two teachers can't do that by themselves. And so one of the biggest things I would say is collaboration. We collaborate often and make sure that everybody has voice and choice in what we do around the school. And it's not I don't believe in top-down leadership. There's rarely any time that I just make decisions on my own. Of course, there's some things when it comes to safety, and there are some decisions that I just have to make because those decisions need to be made. But if there's opportunities for us to collaborate together and let the teachers, who I truly believe are the experts in the building, if I can let them have a voice in what we're doing and have choice in what we're doing, we're always going to go that route. Collaboration, we use the PLC framework, which is professional learning communities. And so everything we do is collaborative. I do not believe in top-down leadership. I want our teachers, I believe they are the experts in the building. And so I want them to have voice and choice in everything that we do. And I think that makes a big difference. People are less likely to tear down a fence that they help build. So if you can include people in what you're doing and make sure they have a voice in what they're doing on a daily basis, I think you're more apt to get people to be on board for change. And then also getting teachers to work together. Sometimes teaching can be an isolated profession. People want it's so personal, and people want to go in their rooms and shut the door and kind of do their own thing, leave me alone. It's kind of the old school way of thinking, and we're the exact opposite of that. Like, we work in collaborative teams. Teachers work very closely together, and so you're sharing best practices, and you have a way to help each other. So if I have a difficult student in my classroom, I'm not stuck all year trying to figure out how to help that kid by myself. We believe at Crawford that, even though they're on my roster, they're not just my kid. Every kid in this building is my kid. Even though you're a third grade teacher, every kindergarten student in this building is your kid, and we all take ownership for helping every child be successful, whatever it takes.
That's really good. That's really good. I recently had on my podcast an assistant principal. His name is Terrel H, and he was talking. Well, I coined it hallway leadership, meaning the importance of just being out in the hallways, connecting. And he went from being a teacher to leadership, and he said, I still carry that same mindset over. Like, it's important to be in the hallways when your kids are coming in. You greet them at the door. And he said, the same as the principal. Now I'm in the hallways building a relationship with the teachers, connecting with them and coaching, like that in-game coaching type of approach. And so it's so cool to hear you talk about the collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now that we know that you're a rock star educator and all this good stuff, you've changed the dynamics of the school, the culture. What is it going to take to get you back home, huh? What are we going to...
That was good.
We got one of the best in the nation, not in our district. What in the world? No.
Oh, goodness.
Do you ever think about coming back? I'm just asking. Like, do you ever think about it?
I do, because you get to missing family. I don't have family here, and we're close enough to make the trip home, but still, you miss being around family. And there definitely are times where I think about coming back home and being able to do the same thing in your own community. Right now, I'm just kind of rooting and cheering from afar. Thanks to Chris Evans, I can stay connected to all the Guthrie team, everything that's going on. So I do stay connected to, the athletic programs and what's going on academically. And I do not know your current superintendent, but I have been reading lots of good things that he's doing in the district, and just very proud of what I see and what I read. And of course, I'm super proud. A little plug here for my cousin Terry Bennett, who just got the head baseball job, and so super proud of him, and proud of Guthrie for making that decision. And it's been great. So
did you come down for the party?
I can't give you an exact date, but I'm excited about everything that's happening.
Yeah. Did you come down for the party?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I made the trip.
I was so wanting to come, but was not able to make it. But I'm excited for him. And
we got in a little late because we started school that following Monday. So I told him, I said, I got to make sure school is set up and ready to go for Monday, but I'll be there. So we definitely made that trip. We wouldn't have missed it.
That's so cool. So cool. So Dr. Simpson is the superintendent. He and then Doug O was the assistant superintendent, and they're both Pokes. They both graduated.
Oh,
yeah, they both graduated from OSU. So good. So when you hear, first let me ask you this: whenever you're describing Guthrie to somebody that hasn't been there, what do you say to people? Like when they ask you where you're from?
I usually say small town, very close knit community, family. If you meet people, it's going to be like they've known you forever. And some of my friends that have come down to Guthrie from Arkansas, from Russellville, have said the same thing. It's like they've known me forever, because that's just, that's how we are. Just a very friendly group of people. And that's family. That's how I describe it.
That's good. One of the things, and you may have seen this in some of the signs in the windows, but we have these Choose Guthrie signs. When you hear, When you hear Choose Guthrie, what does that mean to you?
I think that just means, to me, it makes me think about just being proud of my hometown. I have a Choose Guthrie shirt. There was a boutique
Yeah.
that my kids and I went to in town, and got one of those. I can't think of the name of
Boutique
the
206.
boutique there in town. Yes, yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, it just makes me think of, pride for your community and your hometown, and I love that, because even though I'm not in Guthrie, I can go buy my Choose Guthrie shirt,
Yes.
and I can sport that and I can rock that, and but yeah, it just makes me. That's what Choose Guthrie means to me, is just being able to choose our
Yeah.
people, local, and giving back to our community, and not having to go far when you got it right there in your own community.
That's good. That's good. Shavon, thank you so much for taking time to do this. We are so
Absolutely.
proud of you here in Guthrie, America. To see you representing and
Thank
doing
you.
well means the world to us. Sometimes we want everybody here, but it's also good to help people out in the world doing great things, so we can
Yes.
watch from afar and be proud. So,
Yeah,
and I know
yeah,
your mom is, and
absolutely.
of course your dad
Absolutely.
would be as well.
Of course.
Yeah, and
Yes,
your siblings, your
absolutely.
brothers. So,
Yes,
any
yes.
last words before we close down?
I am just so proud and excited to see the things that are happening in Guthrie. I love like seeing your post, and I love seeing the pictures when you guys are going in. I think the last thing I saw, you were going in and greeting teachers. Maybe it
Oh,
was either their in-service week or professional development week,
convocation.
and yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
I just love being able to keep up. I'm glad there's avenues for people that don't live in Guthrie to see what's going on in the community. And, I think you're doing great things, and just excited to see, what's to come in Guthrie, America.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you again. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for hitting the play button to tune in to another episode of the Guthrie America podcast. And will your story be next? Thank you, Shavon.
Mhm.